Factor the trinomial 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. All right, so first thing to do with any factoring trinomial, or any factoring problem when you're working with polynomials, is to factor out the GCF. So in this case, that would, or the greatest common factor, that would be 1 here. Yeah, 1 is the only thing that divides all these terms, 6x squared, 11x, and minus 10. So really, we have nothing to factor out. Okay, once you've done that, take a look at what you have, the polynomial. In our case, the polynomial, the important thing here is that the polynomial has a coefficient that is not 1 for x squared. The coefficient of x squared here is 6. Okay, when that happens, we have a particular way of factoring these polynomials. It's called the AC method. Okay, so the AC method stands for the A in a quadratic equation and the C. The A is, sorry, not a quadratic equation, polynomial, quadratic polynomial. A stands for the coefficient of x squared, and C stands for the constant term. That's what A and C are. So in our case, A and C are, A is 6 and C is minus 10. Okay, and the way this method works is as follows. So let me first of all just write down what A is and C here. And as going here where it says in the red, multiply A and C. So you're going to multiply 6 and minus 10, minus 16. Here's what we're going to look for. We're going to look for two numbers that multiply to give you minus 60, then add to give you the coefficient of B basically, as I wrote here. In our case, B is 11, okay? B is always the coefficient of x. So that would be 11. So what two numbers would work? So the easiest way to do this is to list out all the possibilities here in terms of what are the factors of minus 60. So for example, I know that 5 and 12 do it 12 and minus 5. There's also 10 and 6, or 10 and minus 6, or minus 10 and 6. There's 20 and negative 3, or negative 20 and 3, and so on. 15 and 4, and negative 15 and positive 4. And yeah, then there's also there's a couple here that are missing 2 and 30, or negative 2 and 2 and negative 30, and negative 2 and 30. And yeah, technically speaking, 1 and minus 60, or minus 60 and 1 can also work out. So these are all the possibilities. So which one would work? So again, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to give you negative 60 and add up to give you 11. Well, the only ones that'll do that are 15 and negative 4. So those are our numbers. Okay. All right. So once you've done that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to our polynomial. We had originally 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. And I'm going to rewrite the 11x with the two numbers we found, which were, again, 15 and minus 4. So 6x squared plus 15x minus 4x minus 10 is what all of this would factor out to. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do what we call factor by grouping. That's the next step. So again, the middle part, the 11x, we rewrite with the two numbers we found, 15x and minus 4x. And the next part is what we do is called something factor by grouping. And the way that works is we're going to group terms together. You're going to group the first two terms together and the last two terms together. So with the first two terms, what you need to ask yourself is, what can I factor out of both of those two terms? And I'm looking for the greatest common factor in this case. For 6x squared and 15x, that would be a 3 and an x. Yeah, 3 divides into both. That's the largest thing that divides into both. And x is the largest exponent that you can factor. So then you would have 2x plus 5 left, okay, when you factor 3x. Likewise, I'm going to ask the same question with minus 4x and minus 10. What's the greatest common factor? In this case, that would be a minus 2. And I'm going to factor that out, and then you get 2x plus 5. And you are in really good shape if you have the same thing inside the parentheses for both times we factored out the greatest common factor, which we do. It's 2x plus 5. And the next step here is to do another factoring the common part, which is the 2x plus 5 on both. And then writing down what you would have left. So if you factored out the 2x plus 5, you have a 3x and a minus 2. And yeah, a lot of people like to think of this as just writing down the part that's common to both these two terms right here. Highlight them, this term and this term, which would be the 2x plus 5, and then write out just what's in front of each term, 3x and the minus 2, and that's it. So that's how that factorization would go about. Now, a couple things to note. Sometimes this method can be somewhat difficult because of when you do the a times the c, sometimes those numbers get large. So just be aware that it could take you some time to find those two factors that multiply to give you a and c. Now, with that being said, some people will have asked, well, is there a faster method to do this? Technically, trial and error, in my opinion, is a little faster. And what I mean by that is to basically try to guess, quote unquote, an educated guess, to see what the terms would be in these two binomials to get 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. So what two things can give me a 6x squared? Well, for example, it could be 3x and 2x. What two things can give me a minus 10? A 5 and a minus 2. And I could rewrite this as such. Okay. And yeah, and how am I doing this? This is basically foiling backwards. Foiling kind of goes from here over there, but when you're factoring, it's like the other way around. So that's why I'm kind of just writing those numbers in, okay? You could also have a 6x plus 1 and x minus 10, and the list goes on. So this method technically works, but it might take you a while. And I've seen most people only feel comfortable with this method after some time. So that's why I don't kind of recommend it in the beginning. I just go with the AC method. It's a little slower, but it's a little more straightforward in structure. Okay, thank you for your time.